Hey everybody. Um, so decided to do a live stream because I'm tired and I don't feel like doing a full upload and everything. Um, and it's actually working. Previously it had not been working, so that's a good sign. Anyways, so I actually just got back from a trip, so this is why I look like The Walking Dead right now. Bear with me. Uh, but I wanted to talk about a few topics, starting with counterintuitively, actually, the what I would say is probably the least important issue on its surface, and work my way down. But the reason is pretty much everyone's had a take on the Elizabeth Warren issue, so I'm also going to have one. So I came out very conflicted when I first saw it. I was kind of happy with it, but the more I think about it, the more kind of the more concerns I have. But at the end of the day, I don't see it really as a particularly important thing either way. I think it really is taking air out of the room, so to speak. And that's unfortunate. I understand why she did it. I get the logic behind it. She's running for president, so she's trying to get out in front of this and fight off an attack, which is respectable. I mean, if someone's trying to bully you, you fight back. So I completely understand the logic. And in a vacuum, the video they did was very impressive. It was well done. It was not like the normal crap you see from Democrats that's like not very well done, honestly, and almost spamish to seem genuine. And that's all well and fine. I also don't have a really big issue with timing of it. I saw some people will say, "Oh, the midterms, uh, this is going to help Republicans," and a lot of bullshit like that. And I didn't care for that, particularly since one of the people I saw talking about this whole line of attack was Jim Messina, who is a piece of trash, is the nicest way to put it. This guy ran Obama's campaign in the past. Likes to talk like he's a Democrat or a left winger or something like, but he's really not. He's an apolitical scumbag. That's what he is. He's a mercenary for hire. This is a guy that has worked with large companies to work on union busting and that sort of thing. There's also a person um, who has gone to other countries to work with right wingers, such as Theresa May. In particular, I'm thinking of when he was working on her last election campaign, was talking smack on Jeremy Corbyn, who's like the Bernie Sanders, except more left in England and the leader of the Labour Party right now. And he was giving a lot like, oh, this is going to be a great day, only to find out the election went terribly for him because he's bad at his job. He's just not very good at his job. He's a douchebag. Whatever they're paying, anyone pays him is too much. Which is another thing that's kind of a side note here. It's amazing how Democratic presidents, aka Obama and Clinton, have hired such just complete slime balls in their administration. People like David Plouffe, people who works with the Saudis, people like Mark Penn and Dick Morris, who are actually Republicans pretty much that Clinton hired. I mean, they are not left wingers in any sense of the word. And by contrast, the Republicans have always tended to hire more actual right wingers, which I'll get into later on. I will say another good thing I think she did, which she did not make the video all about herself. She did say, bring up what I think is really the most important thing that should come out of this video situation, which is in particular that how our treatment of the Native American community has been beyond despicable for hundreds of years. You're talking about the fact that European colonists came over and systematically wiped out. This is genocide at a mass scale, wiped them out for the most part. This was ethnic cleansing. And This is at the foundation of our country, along with slavery. Our nation does have racist, have murderous, genocidal beginnings. Now, that's not to say there aren't good things about the country. We should celebrate the good things. We should yearn to get to a point of perfection. We should yearn to get to a point where we can say, we should be able to say, yeah, these were disgusting, terrible things we did. But we're not going to do it again, and we're going to make it up and do the best we can to make it right in the going forward. But we don't do that. We've broken treaties. We've, what else have we done? We've done look at Standing Rock, where basically into poisoning their water, desecrating their ceremonial burial grounds, wiping out their environment, flooding drugs into their societies. I could go on forever and ever, exploiting them. It's just to that level. And most recently in North Dakota, what they've done required not only that you have an ID, but you must have a permanent residential address, not only a P.O. box. Now, this is very targeted at the Native American community, as Standing Rock, as so many things we've done, and it's hard to keep track. Many Native Americans have a P.O. box because the numbering and the address system is different. So they have a P.O. box address. So this is targeted. Really, I think the most important thing that we should be talking about, the treatment, and is disgusting and has done what he's done. I don't particularly like, and I saw a statement from the Cherokee leaders that they don't appreciate either Warren or Trump acting this way. And there's a lot to that. I think really this should be put to bed. I hope Warren doesn't subject any more of this, do any of this stuff, even if Trump does attack. I would also say another criticism of this has to be that this is not going to beat Trump. It's not going to beat the GOP. It won't. You're talking about, you're thinking that you can go to people and say, oh, well, no, what you said was not true. Here's a fact check. It's not going to work. You can't deal with these people. They are not your friends. They are not people you can reason with. They are people you need to crush. You can't reason with them. All right? They lie relentlessly. They know they're lying, and now they're moving to like changing textbooks and putting revisionist history to indoctrinate kids into this. I've seen it firsthand. You can tell someone 2 + 2 = 4, and they'll tell you, no, it equals 6. All right. This is the level of madness you're dealing with. So if you think that you can fact check this stuff and have success, you got another thing coming to you. It's not going to work. You're dealing with unreasonable people, and it's not just Trump. How many times we have to hear, oh, our Republican resistance friends, the never Trump Republicans. Don't trust them either, because they'll stab you in the back when push comes to shove. All right? They will be nasty. They will be vicious. They don't care either. It's an ideology that is inherently evil. All right? It's an inherently immoral ideology. So stop trying to make deals with it. Stop trying to, be friendly. You got to be ruthless too. Okay? It's coming at you. You got to go back at it. But, trying to fight in a way of going back and forth with Trump, that's Trump's territory. It's not going to work. So I respect that she was trying to address the issue. I think she did it more competently than most Democrats would. But ultimately, it's not going to really help her either way. I would also point out, though, the other point I made, that the Republican Party is not to be dealt with kid gloves. They're going to bring a motherfucking bazooka to a fight, you can't show up with kitchen knives. It's not going to work. I think just about like Nancy Pelosi, for example, and the congressional leadership thinking it's a good idea to promise that we're going to go to PAYGO if we win the House. PAYGO means what this is for every spending program you enact, you will have to cancel it out with like a cut. So you don't increase the deficit because people care about that shit. This is their way of their thinking, their calculations in their mind is, oh, we're going to do this and win over moderate Republicans, never Trump Republicans. You're not going to win them because here's a dirty little secret that really shouldn't be a secret. Republicans don't give a fuck about small government. They don't give a fuck about spending, not a lot of spending. They don't give a fuck about any of this stuff. They don't care about the debt. They talk like they do when they're in opposition because it's, a way to say, oh, we don't want them to spend a lot of money, the Democrats. But the Democrats fall into the trap. All right. Why are you doing that? You're unilaterally disarming. Do you think the Republicans do this? No. I just saw from CNN a message that, they have increased their spending even more than what it was before. They're increasing spending, but the difference is what they're increasing in. They're increasing it in pork barrel defense budget projects. They're increasing it in tax cuts for the wealthy. They're increasing it in basically farm subsidies to bribe them off because of all the trade stuff going on. That's what they're increasing in. And they're taking away from healthcare, from welfare, from things that actually are needed to help people fucking live or get a proper education. All right. So Nancy Pelosi, of course, in her infinite wisdom, decides this is a great idea. Let's go to PAYGO. Let's act like we're going to be fiscally responsible. And this is what happens. The Democrats take power and they don't move the needle. And they move the needle very far. All Democrats do is they mitigate. All right. So that's got to change. And unfortunately, the way the money works, I don't think that's an accident for us, a lot of these Democrats to act like this. Another way to think of it, judicial nominations. We just had a big fight, but it's not just the Supreme Court, it's also lower courts. What happens? You would think, okay, unified government, that's why they're getting a lot of people through, fair point. But, and when there's divided government, it's tougher to get judges through. Again, that's fine. But when it's trying to put justices through, it's at a snail's pace. The Republicans stop it every step of the way. Now Trump's getting all those guys through, but it's one thing, okay? You vote united, there's more of them than you find. What happens is that's not the case. You can slow down the process. You can do whatever you can. Chuck Schumer is cutting deals to expedite a number of these justices into power. That you just saw what happened with Kavanaugh. You saw what happened with Mary. Really out of his element. He's getting his ass kicked by the turtle from Kentucky. All right, so, and part of it might just be it's fine with him. I mean, for these people, it's fine. They got money. They'll live. The people that'll suffer, not the people in the Senate. Even Bernie Sanders, who has good ideas and stuff, comes out and says, oh, I don't like these protests. It's not nice. This is like ridiculous. This is a very privileged position by a lot of people because they can afford to have that position. And look, that's not to say I don't like Bernie Sanders. I think his policies are great. I wish he was president right now. But what I'm trying to show is even the good ones at that level, they're very disconnected. They're at a place that you or me could not understand. We're at a place that they couldn't understand. So honestly, bothering some, asshole in a restaurant doesn't seem like a bad idea as long as it's nonviolent. It gets the point across. But the Senate liberation, it assumes, assumes that you're going to have a decorum, that mutual respect. It doesn't exist anymore. The Republicans take. That's what it is. They're like begging, please, can I have a crumb? These guys just got to, these kind of men, when you take power, are they going to do what needs to be done? Look at impeaching Kavanaugh, look at impeaching Trump, look at increasing the number, which there's a case to make even beyond ideological reasons. I mean, there's a lot of more cases now than there were, than there were decades ago. There's a lot more of a workload. So there's a good case you can make. Are they going to look even at very simple things if they had power, like giving statehood to Puerto Rico, giving statehood to the District of Columbia, giving some sort of voting rights to people in other territories like Guam or American Samoa, So that's something. Looking, are they going to dissent on re-enfranchising victims of mass incarceration? Are they going to look at these things? Now, some work that's going to pass, which will be a really big deal. But this on time, you have to have ambitious, bold positions. That's how you beat the Republicans. That's how you beat Donald Trump. You stand to your ground. You have bold positions, concrete positions. Medicare for all is a good example, $15 minimum wage, but it's even more than that. Bullshit, not going to get everybody. Okay. I was just down south, and there are some people you're not going to get. You can talk all you want. You guys just live in different worlds. Okay. You may not be able to get, you can, if you have bold, exciting policies, you can get there. You can get enough. All right. And then you can boost the non-voters, get them to come out. Okay. You can get them out. All right. How do you do that? Bold policy positions, bold proposals, and organized like there ain't no tomorrow. Climate change and the crushing of the capitalist system, there might be no tomorrow. So, this is what all right, if that's how you win. Now, 2018 is almost here. Time constraints, certain things are limited. All right. And I don't agree with the idea of, don't vote for Democrats. I got my absentee ballot today, and I'll be voting straight Democratic ticket. It's what it's the only option right now. But long term, these are what you have to do to win. All right. That's how you beat Trump. Not videos and this sort of like Pocahontas stuff. I don't think it's disgusting, but I don't think that's going to be where you're going to win. What you take out of that is Native American right. We need to treat Native Americans a lot better. We need to treat them as equal, but we don't do it. And it's one of the biggest, if not it's one of the top, tragedies and travesties that our nation has dealt with. And when I think about American exceptionalism and human rights, that's one of the first examples that should tell you there's a problem. So I've been very harsh on Democrats, and rightfully so. I've been very harsh on, certain elements opposing Trump, and I feel rightfully so. But and we've had these problems long before Trump, but Trump has introduced some new elements. Not necessarily they were there before, of course, but it's given them juice to increase. In particular, we had, and the Republican Party has embraced them. They have embraced white supremacy. They have embraced fascism. They have embraced bigotry, and before a Republican would come and say, "Oh no, I don't appreciate this," they invited Gavin McInnes, the head of the Proud Boys, a right wing, not even right wing, a neo-fascist, racist organization. They invited them to come talk about, celebrating, violence against left wingers. So they speak, and then they go out, and what do? They start attacking. Now, Antifa, of course, was there to oppose them, and there were counter protesters. I don't know if, I shouldn't say if it was exactly Antifa, but there were counter protesters who rightfully were there saying, "Fuck you guys. This is disgusting." And what happens? They got attacked, and there was what's been reported as a fight, but really they were attacked and by the Proud Boys, and the Proud Boys provoked them. McInnes himself had a fucking sword. But what do you see in the news? Most news sites did not talk or give a lot of time to the fact that there are roving right-wing white nationalist gangs going through the nation's biggest city. And the one that did was Fox, that was most well known was Fox News, obviously New York Times, and they did eventually catch on. But even their language was wishy-washy. Oh, there was a fight. It was a two-sided thing. Only ones that were not two-sided were Fox News, who said Antifa beats up Republicans or some bullshit like that. So it's just baffling how we're just closing our eyes and pretending there aren't these nutcases roving around causing this problem. Motherfucker had a sword, and he's the victim. Pretty incredible stuff. We really are living in some sort of twilight zone. Anyways, so it always drives me crazy. I think people saying, "Oh, I don't like Antifa." Well, are you going to get up off your ass and do something? I'm sorry, ignore them, they'll go away thing doesn't work anymore. That went the winner of them being president, when the Republican Party joined forces with them. There's been time that this was true because the conservatives more. Instead, really want to differentiate themselves from Antifa, from groups like that. Now, again, I've been pretty clear on my own feelings about this. I don't want to see violence. I don't want to see provoked violence from our side. It's helpful. I don't think that works to our benefit. But if you're attacked, then you motherfucking attack back and you kill them if you have to, because it's self-defense. All right? I hope it doesn't come to that. I don't like that stuff. But if someone's attacking you, what are you going to do? So, and it goes back to the point of, if bothering Ted Cruz in a restaurant, how much criticism you hear about that sort of thing. And there's no violence there. You're just telling them how you feel. You're making them uncomfortable and making them maybe think about it, or maybe not like it. So that's good. We should be doing it. But these, the centrist Democrats, the liberals, they don't want to do that. They want to unilaterally disarm. Think they can, break bread with the fascists and work with them. Now, does that mean every single? I assume some Republicans are fine people. No, I'm kidding. I know some are. I don't think every Republican is evil. I don't think it's anything like that. I think the ideology is of right-wing Republicanism is evil. I think their co-opting of these fascist, neo-fascist groups is very bad. But I would like to think that some Republicans would come aboard. But if they're welcome to, but at the same time, we shouldn't adopt their policies, because their policies are antithetical to the working class. So we'll be watching. It seems like, and one other thing I forgot to mention: the NYPD initially only arrested some left-wing protesters, and kind of back. And this is not the first time it's happened in the Pacific Northwest. The police seem to be backing the fascists, and there's been a lot of talk that there might be these Proud Boys and they have elements within the police, and I'm certain that's probably true. So it's something to watch. The police will defend the bigots. But luckily in New York, there was an outcry. There was and when new video came to show clearly what was happening, now the NYPD is forced to have to act. And the mayor has spoken out. The New York Attorney General has spoken out and given strong condemnations and said, hey, what's going on here? So hopefully those outcries are important. But I say this again, I wish it could be an ignore these people. It doesn't work. You have to embarrass them. You have to confront them. Non-violently, of course, but these guys might come after you violently. And then you have to make a decision at that point. But these are dangerous people. So going back to the human rights, the last thing I'm going to talk about today is the issue of Jamal Khashoggi, the Saudi U.S. resident, but the Saudi journalist for the Washington Post, who went into the Saudi consulate in Turkey to he had a marriage-related issue he had to take care of. His fiance was waiting for him and never came back out. Now there have been videos and claims that there was a hit squad there. He wasn't really a dissident per se. He was not from all accounts, he was like a moderate, loyal opposition. He was he was a loyal opposition. He supported the Saudi regime, but he had some criticisms of Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince, and some of the things he's done. Apparently that was enough, because it seems like what happened and what the Turkish authorities believe, and so far where the evidence points is they offed him, they killed him, and then dismembered him into many pieces, and that was the end of that. An incredibly bold thing to do in a country where Turkey's not really friends with Saudi Arabia right now. To do that and think they were going to get away with it seems very unlikely. It seems like they knew they would get caught, but they just didn't care because they knew they had friends in high places, so to speak. They know, and this is one thing. I'm not a fan of democratic foreign policy. I'm not a fan of Obama's foreign policy for the most part. There were a few exceptions. The Iran deal was a good thing to do. I think he stemmed a little bit in Syria. They still were involved and there was a problem, but he may have, at his own expense, by not actually acting on that red line, was a good thing. And, he held things back. So not good, but Trump has taken ripped the Band-Aid off. Okay. He's basically said to his friends, do whatever the fuck you want. I don't care what you do. I got your back. And so you have these right-wingers in Eastern Europe, in Latin America, in Brazil specifically, in Asia, in the Middle East, all over. They've just gone over the top. You see Israel's acting out of control. Saudi's acting out of control. What's happening with Duterte in the Philippines? I suspect he may not have gave a fuck either way. But they've gone from being bad and sneaky to now just being openly disgusting. You see what's happening in Yemen right now. They're bombing school buses. They're bombing buses of civilians. There's a cholera outbreak. They're, blockading ports, a major port. So they're not letting humanitarian supplies get in. All with the support and arms sales of the United States government. In the past, there would at least been some restraining and told them, yeah, hey, you can't do this. They're bulldozing, and just like in Israel, they're bulldozing Palestinian villages and putting Israeli settlers in their place. They've even dropped the charade of the two-state solution and just said we're going to take everything over because they know they have a blank check. And this is a very dangerous thing, actually. So while I'm not thrilled with Obama's foreign policy either, to do it this way is an incredibly dangerous thing. And we just saw what happened. We also know Trump doesn't like journalists that much. And I'm sure MBS knows that. And so he offed them. And it was probably a calculated gamble that it's going to, this is not going to end badly for him. It's a calculated gamble that he'll get away with it. And as of right now, it's unclear. I mean, I think luckily the journalists, many of the mainstream media has gotten behind because this is one of their own. So they've been strong on the case. You see, even a lot of business leaders have cut ties. Some Republicans have come out strong. It is a rare time I can sit down and agree with some of those neocons because it's so egregious, so like, whoa. I would point out they probably should have fucking done that with all the hundreds of thousands of Yemeni men, women, and children dying. And then at the end of the day, one journalist, which is an interesting balance of how we view our priorities, but whatever it takes to get the point across. But you see in Trump's interviews, he doesn't want to. He's going to keep selling arms. He's going to keep doing what he's doing. And this is not a shocking thing. There is a history of this sort of thing. They just used to be sneakier about it. Henry Kissinger was an evil, and still is. How the fuck is that guy still alive? I don't know. But he's an evil man. And what he did in Southeast Asia and Latin America. But they did it under the cover of dark. Trump and MBS and Netanyahu and all these people are just going all out. And we'll see what happens. I don't know, honestly. I think it's possible things could get so bad that Trump could get strong-armed and say he has to. Right now, it looks like the Saudis are about to say, oh, it was a mistake during interrogation that he died. That's highly unconvincing. The fact that they were going to abduct him anyways is not any better. So this is very troubling, and this really underscores, as we see the rise of nationalism in many forms, be it in Saudi Arabia, what's happening there is a form of nationalism, be it in Israel, which is nationalism, be it in Eastern Europe, like people with Hungarian. Actually, I just saw this today in Hungary with Viktor Orban, or right-wing fascist, who's the leader of Hungary. They're criminalizing homelessness. They're saying sleeping on the streets is illegal. So that's like the level of like cruelty we're seeing. All right. You see what's happening in Brazil with Bolsonaro. I can't pronounce that motherfucker's name. This guy makes Trump look moderate. And we're seeing it in Saudi Arabia with the behavior of Mohammed bin Salman, who is Jared Kushner's best new bud. They're bros. So we'll see what happens. But it's all a game, and the powerful have decided that they're not going to even sugarcoat it anymore and declare open war on poor people around the world. So we'll see what happens from there. I think short term it's going to be very tragic and terrible. But you can only keep poking, there's a lot more, let me put it like this, there's a lot more poor people than rich people out there. And you can keep poking them, or you can keep tricking them with the notion of, it's the immigrants that are taking the jobs. I heard so much of this weekend. I'd actually had a real great trip, but there was a level of how can I put this in a nice way? Because the people I met were good people, very nice, and all of them. I really enjoyed actually being down there. But there is just a difference in how we see the world. Okay. It's just, and it's going to be tough to break through that. And you can tell them that the employers, the rich, are causing a problem, and they may agree. But if you go, but then they'll say it's the immigrants. And then if you have an issue, if you even bring up the word race to them, they're going to say, I'm not racist. I have this friend. So I'm not trying to even call you a racist. Anyways, that's another discussion for another day. Back to the point at hand of just, it's absolutely mind boggling. Like the stuff that's going down in Saudi Arabia that they had, it's a problem that they believe they can be this open about it and think they can get away with it. That in itself says something about what we're doing. That in itself says exactly how, the world works and how it's gotten worse under Trump. So anyways, I'm going to call it a night on this. I will be back another time. I like doing the live stream. I might do that a little more now that I know it's working. And, yep, till next time.